Hello and welcome to this virtual training session. The topic for today's presentation is Introduction to SAP Lumira Cloud. It will be presented by Christina Aubrey. Before we get started, I need to remind everyone that this session is being recorded. In the recorded session, your name may be visible to other people who are viewing the recording. If you have any objections, please disconnect at this time. At the end of the presentation, we will open the lines for questions. Now, I would like to introduce Ruchi to begin the presentation.
Okay, thanks, Rahul. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, part of Lumira series, with today's focus being Lumira Cloud. My name is Ruchi, and I'll be moderating today's webinar, which will last for about 45 minutes or so, followed by a Q&A. As Rahul mentioned, today's webinar is being recorded, and it will be available on SCN, saplumira.com, as well as SAP's Lumira YouTube channel. To keep the webinar interactive, I would request you to type in your questions in the chat window during and at the end of the presentation, or save them to be asked at the end via phone lines, as we'll open up the phone lines when Christina is done with her presentation. Okay, so with that, let's get started with Lumira Cloud, the topic we've been eagerly waiting for, and I'm very happy to have Christina Aubrey, who's a product owner for Lumira Cloud, with us today. Christina, would you like to say a few words about yourself before you kickstart your presentation?
I will do. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. I'm Christina Aubrey. I'm the area product owner of Lumira Cloud, working for SAP. And I'm responsible for product definition and strategy for the SAP Lumira Cloud product. And I'm obviously working really closely together with all the other product owners and product managers from the SAP Lumira family. Today, I'd like to talk to you about Lumira Cloud specifically and give you a bit of an introduction. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead. When we're talking about SAP Lumira, and this is hopefully just a very brief overview of all things, but we're talking about enterprise sales service and exploration in itself. You've had a workshop or a webinar already on the SAP Lumira desktop. I'm going to be using it a little bit today, but I'm not going to go into too many details. But you basically have analysts that are using tools like Lumira desktop to really acquire, transform, and visualize the information. And then you have the ability to also use Lumira Cloud on the web, on the tablet, to actually consume that data that was either prepared by the analyst on Lumira Cloud and published it, or directly created on Lumira Cloud in itself. So this is just another visualization of this. So we basically have the ability for the analyst to create personal views and views of the data, and then share that with the business users, who then have the ability to transform that over as well. So what exactly is Lumira Cloud? So Lumira Cloud is for all business users. It's one of our fastest and moving, engaging way to discover answers for your data. It fits into the Lumira family, so you will see a lot of familiarity between. And it's really helping you to do your own and in collaboration vision analysis to find the information of your data. And as I said, you can use either the desktop using the web or the tablet. And the most important part is that these functionalities of these self-service visual and self-service discovery is basically in the cloud. So you can have access to this tool within no time. You don't need to wait for IT, and you have the ability to just register and go ahead and use the product any way you like. So that's just a brief overview. Lumira Cloud is powered by HANA. So we're actually running on the HANA Cloud platform. So any of the data calculations and things like that are done in HANA. It's, as I said, in-memory computing in the cloud. You get faster analysis without necessarily having to pay for your own HANA instance in itself. So you can take advantage of the power of HANA without necessarily having to administer it yourself. The key capabilities of Lumira Cloud is obviously access to data exposed by others. So that can be either data that's coming from the desktop or data that's uploaded directly to Lumira Cloud. You have the ability to explore the data using interactive visualization. And then one of the other key information is to actually be able to share the answers that you found with others and drive adoption of that knowledge further. So in terms of data access, you have the ability to either upload CSV, Excel spreadsheet into Lumira Cloud, or you can do a data mashup in Lumira Desktop, and that can come from different data sources, such as even your universes or different HANA systems, and you can do mashup data manipulations, basically use the same capabilities that were introduced to you in the webinar previously, to then take that data and upload it to Lumira Cloud straight from within the desktop. And I'll show you a demo. I want to spend as little time as possible on the different slides. And then when you actually upload the spreadsheets and everything else, your numbers and facets are automatically configured for your ease of use as well. So that's just different ways of data accessing in itself. You then have the ability to explore, visualize, analyze using a very simple drag and drop interface. You have the ability to choose from different chart types that you can create your charts, so that's tabular charts, pie charts, trends, and so on. And you can have the ability then to publish these beautiful visualizations to Lumira Cloud. You can also explore directly in Lumira Cloud as well. And the native HTML interface that we're having allows you to view that same information on a mobile device as well. For the devices in itself, so you can, as I said, use it on the web, or you can use the mobile device. We do support the iPad so Safari on iPad, but we also support for the iPad the mobile BI application. So if you already have the SAP Mobi installed, then you can also create a connection to your Lumira Cloud account and access all your information and the sharing within that particular mobile application. So it's really one application for all of your BI needs. And the interactivity that you have will be the same across. You then further have the ability to share the data sets or the visualization and stories between individuals and teams. So you do have the ability to create the content once and make it accessible to others, which then can access it again either via the web or via the mobile device in itself. And I just really quickly went over these slides because I actually wanted to show you a demo because I think that actually tells you more about it. So what I'm going to do first, I'm actually going to use the desktop because it allows me to create a story, which is a dashboard-like representation of this different visualization. So as I said, you've already had a webinar on the desktop, so I'm going to go really quickly over that. I'm going to acquire new data. In my case, I'm taking it out of an Excel data sheet. But I can, as you can see, there is different data options. Right now, I'm using the free license, which is why the universes and SQL is disabled. But you can obviously purchase the desktop license and have those ones enabled as well. So I'm going to just acquire the data. Here I have a preset of the different data included. And I'm going to create the data. And what that will do is it imports it into my desktop so that I can start creating visualization of this data set. So the data itself that I'm importing is all about procurement and what is the spending that I've done. And in particularly, what I want to find out first is what are the business units within or business groups within the last years that have been spending the most. So easy drag and drop interface, I can pull this over here. I can get in the business unit, and I actually want to separate this out by year. Now I can see that I have a delivery date here, and I can move that over into what's called a time hierarchy. Okay. Sorry about that. So the time hierarchy has been created, and what I want to do is I want to actually create a chart and put that into a column. And next I'm interested in actually this being the percentage. So a few easy steps. I've created one visualization. I want to create a few more because I'm interested in creating a board. So in this visualization here, I've seen basically the percentage and a pie chart of all the distribution, but I'm also want to know what the actual numbers are. So I'm quickly going to create another one that is a bar chart where I have the information for the different teams in here. And then I'm going to create one more because I'm interested in what is the spending over time. So again, just drag and drop the spending and then the mindset. I want that to be a line chart in itself. So as I said, a few easy steps allowed me on the desktop to create these visualizations. I can then move into what we call the compose room, and I can add these to a storyboard. And really simple drag and dropping. I have the ability to add that information in here. And I can create multiple boards as well. So I'm going to name these boards. And I'm going to name the first board as well. By business unit. And I just have to save it. So far everything you've seen is desktop capability. What I can go now is into the share room. And in the share room itself, I can here see the list of data sets and I can see the different stories. So I've created one story. And when I select that story, I get the ability to publish that to Lumira Cloud. Now, I have already logged into Lumira Cloud previously, but if you haven't, it will prompt you for your login information. When I go and I say publish, I'm basically, what it does, it checks on whether or not the particular story or data set has already been published before. In my case, it has not, so I want to create a new one. If it has already been published before, then it will actually give you an option of do you want to override it or do you want to not override it. So that will help as well. I'm just waiting for this to be published. And you see the data set's already been published, the spending as well. So next what I want to do is actually move over into Lumira Cloud, into the interesting part of today's presentation. You can see I navigated to cloud.saplumira.com, so that's the URL that you want to maintain and really know about. I'm here on the login screen. If you don't have an account yet, you can simply register by creating a new account, entering your email address, as well as other information, and you're good to go. It creates an account for you in no time. As I said, yeah, out of the box you have, or out of it, you got 1 gigabyte of storage for free. So I'm going to log in to my account. And so I have an SSO certificate, which is why this is already there. So you can see that right now at 10:16, which was just the time that we had, the story was published. And I have the ability to really view this particular story. And I can see exactly the same story that I had before, the same interaction. I can flip around it. Now, I've actually noticed that I wanted to have some interaction and some filtering in here. So I can go back into my desktop, for example, and add that into my story. So for example, for the spending, I want to add the business groups. So I did a slight modification to my story, and I save that, and I can now publish the story again. As I was mentioning now, it actually checks on whether or not I've had that story on there. So I'm going to just not overwrite the data because I haven't refreshed it, but I want to overwrite the particular story. What that will do if I go back into Lumira Cloud itself and I refresh my story in itself, I can go onto that second page and I can see how I've had the filtering that I added just on the desktop into here. And that becomes important when I've actually shared that information with others, that they can see any updates that I've done. And that gets me into the next part. One of the big pieces of Lumira Cloud is the sharing piece as well. So in here, what you see here at the top, there's a share button. I have the ability to share with others via email. So if I have just the standard edition, the free account, I can type anybody's email in and invite them. If you have a team account and that's the paid edition, and I'll go a little bit into that in just a little bit more, then you have a checkbox here that allows you to just share with that particular team, and that makes it available for any of your team members. I have the ability to add a message as well if I wanted to, and I can invite these people. So as you can see here now, I can see who this has been shared with, and I have easy access to remove that as well if I wanted to. So I'm going to say this is done. Now I can go back into my document listing in here, and the indication here will show me that this has actually been shared with others. So that is how you can get a Lumira story into Lumira Cloud itself. We also have the ability, so with the story, I also published what's called a data set, so you can see that in here. If I open the data set by just double-clicking, I'm being navigated into what we call visual discovery. And it actually allows you to explore the data or to discover the data and find some insights via some pre-built visualizations of your own data. So that's really interesting if you may not necessarily know what you're looking for. Now, in my case, I'm actually interested, this is all procurement data, and I'm interested in finding out what are the information I can find over, for example, different date or delays in people paying for me. So I'm actually going to have the ability here to see a few different visualizations that are pre-built for me that I can look, and I can find outliers right away. Right? So here I can, for example, see some outliers around. So in this particular one, I'm interested in here, and I have the ability to just click explore, and I get into what we call an exploration. Again, I can see what the outliers are. I have the ability to, for example, just filter on these selected items as well. I have further information up here that I can filter on, and the ability to even change the bar charts, for example. Oh, this wasn't the correct, sorry. Into, for example, a dot chart, and see the outliers again. So I have simple modifications and creations that I can do on my particular data set. Again, I have the ability to save this. And once it is saved, I can also share. So I'm going to go back into the document listing. You can see here now is the visualization that I created. So you have the story that's published from the desktop, and you have the visualization that was created directly within Lumira Cloud. I also have, I was mentioning earlier on, the ability to create data sets. And I'm not going to actually upload one right now, but I do have the ability here to just browse, pick up a data set that I have, and acquire it, which then will result into a similar data set as this one. I was talking earlier a bit more about the sharing. One of the new features that we have in Lumira Cloud is the public embeddability in sharing. I'm going to go back onto my story that was about spending, and I'm going to go onto the share dialog. As you can see up here, it's right now, and that is default, it's private sharing only. So private sharing means it's only accessible to whoever I have shared with. The sharing that I showed you before, the ability to enter somebody's email address or share in the team. And I can see here the list of people that it has been shared with. But I also, and when it's in private, I do have the ability to get a direct link. So if I, for example, have shared this with you, I have the ability to copy the link in itself, send it to you, and you get direct access to the particular story. But what if I want to share it with others that may not necessarily have a Lumira Cloud account, and I'm okay with people accessing a particular link without registering? I do have the ability to change the access. So here you can see private is the default, but I can also make this a public story. Public meaning I have the ability to get a link, for that particular story that anybody can access into. So if I move it to public, obviously this changes here, and it has changed the link that is in here. So I'm going to copy this link out, and I'm done. I can also, as you can see here now, the sharing symbol that I had before has now been shared or changed to a little world symbol, indicating that this particular story is accessible to anybody who has a particular link. So I showed you how I got the link out of the share dialog, but I can also go onto the info dialog, which shows me both actually the private link as well as the public link. And those are two different ones. What I want to do next is actually show you the embeddability and how you can share these links across. What I've created here is a HANA Cloud portal site. And I've just created a trial version. Again, you can get a trial version, and it allows you, HANA Cloud Portal allows you to create portal sites with really easy dragging and dropping. So I want to just add my particular story to this site. So I'm in the site creation mode, and they have what's called a URL widget. So I can just add the URL widget into my screen here, open it a bit bigger, and then just type in the URL that I had copied from Lumira Cloud, and I can submit it. I can then here see, so I'll make it a bit bigger. I can then here see the same visualization story that I had before without actually having logged into it. Same interaction, and I can go further into, for example, a preview, or actually publish the site and make it available to anybody else. But that is just a simple way for you to share a visualization or a story with others in a public website, such as a blog or anywhere else, without them having to necessarily log into Lumira Cloud. So that's a quite neat new feature, and I think we only pushed that out about 2 weeks ago. So go ahead and try it out. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is a bit the team account. I was kind of mentioning it already before. You have the ability to obviously get your free account, but you also have the ability to get a team account. So I already have a team account here. I got about 5 licenses and 5 gigabytes. What I see here is really the administration piece, and it's very easy to administer team members. So I can just invite new team members. Oh, I'm already, sorry, I should have used a different email address. But anyhow, so you can see how easy I can, basically by entering somebody's email address, they will get a notification being invited to this particular team. I can then see at the bottom here what the accounts are. So let me actually, so they said, and I can easily make somebody else an admin, or I can remove the admin rights as well. So anybody who has admin rights also has the ability to invite a team. And you can see who has used how much space on their system in itself. So that's kind of the team accounts that we have today. I'm going to go back into my slides for the demo. So as I said, you do have the ability to do a free, or to get a free account by just registering your email address. You have a limit of 1 gigabyte of storage, and this can all be done through online registration. And we have a form on SCN where you can get support as well if you needed it to. For the enterprise edition that we have, you have the ability to, again, explore. You have some monitoring capabilities on your users, and share the data within your department or with colleagues in a simpler fashion, which was just the checkbox to share with other teams. And then the price right now is $25 per month. And then you got 5 users as a minimum and 5 gigabytes. And then you can buy additional storage as well. And then in terms of support, there's email and phone support as well if you have the enterprise license. And so that actually already concludes my demonstration. That was a little quicker than I thought, but go ahead if you don't have an account yet to saplumira.com and try it out. Let me know your feedback. And I think we're taking it open for questions.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, should you wish to place a question over the telephone, please press the star or asterisk key followed by the digit 1 on your telephone keypad. Please ensure the mute function on your telephone is switched off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. A voice prompt on your phone line will indicate when your line is open. So once again, to ask a question, please press star 1. We will pause now for a moment to allow everyone an opportunity to signal.
So Christina, let me start with a question I see on the chat window. Do we have sharing options possible with SAP Jam?
Not at this point, no.
Okay. Next question is there a possible integration with the following: SAP BW, SAP Business Object Design Studio?
So today there is not. There is a light integration using the universes in the desktop. So you can do that and then publish the data. Keep in mind that when Lumira Cloud, the data actually needs to reside on Lumira Cloud. So the data needs to be moved. We're working on some data services for Lumira Cloud as well, at which point some of that on-premise to Lumira Cloud will become available. But that is not in the product yet.
Okay. Any questions on the line, Anna?
There are no questions at this time in the queue.
Okay, let's give everybody some more time to... Okay, I have a question from Amit here. I'm sharing URL of my cloud story with anybody. Does he need to use the trial version? So does anybody need to install Lumira desktop or have an account in cloud? Christina?
So you don't, if you didn't want it to, you don't have to use the desktop as well. If you want to see stories, you need to have the desktop. But as I said, you could create visualizations just on its own. I'm going to go back, as I said, into the info tab of the story that I've actually showed before. You can see here there is a private link and there's a public link. And there's only the public link only occurs when you've actually made the access public. When you share with a private link, people need to have a Lumira Cloud account, and that can be a free account, and that has to be shared with them. So if I take the private link from here, then only the people that are part of my team that I can see here, only the ones that I've invited will be able to view this because you're going to be prompted. And I can quickly demonstrate this. So if I take the private link, so I'm going into Internet Explorer that I'm just opening now. So you can see with a private link, I'm being prompted for the Lumira Cloud logon because it's a private one. If, however, I take the public link, and so when you then at that time, so I had closed my browser. When you then at the time are prompted for your logon, then we will check on whether this particular item has actually been shared with you. With the public link, which is what I just placed, you can see that the story just appears. So we're bypassing the logon of Lumira Cloud. So if you share with public link, a person doesn't have to have a Lumira Cloud account. If you share a private link, you have to have the object or the story shared with that particular user, and you have to have, and they need to have a Lumira Cloud account. They will get an email notification when something is shared with them. That's the two basic differences. In any case, if you're sharing via Lumira Cloud, the other person that you're sharing with does not have to have a desktop account.
So, Christina, would the person who's being shared the story via a public account be able to do drill down or have any kind of more visibility than what is being shown through these charts, through these visualizations?
No, you do have the ability to interact as it is on the story itself. So you can do it according to that, but you don't have the ability to explore at this point because it's read only. We do have, if you go back, and it's actually a feature that I didn't necessarily talk about, you can also see that the data set has also gotten a public link. So if I go into the info, I'm actually have a link in here. That one is not to be mistaken out of the Explore link, but it's rather an open an OData link. So it allows you to consume the data. It's a different link than to the one that you have in the story. But I can, for example, take this OData link and go back into my desktop or any other tool if you want so. And my desktop didn't have the new capability. Sorry. I don't have the OData enabled on this one just yet. But you can go into any tool that can read OData, and I can, for example, go in and get the metadata of this particular data set. So this is the metadata of the data set, and using other OData representation, I actually have the ability to get the data as well. So I could take that link that I've gotten for the data set and actually put it into my Lumira desktop and import the data again to do further manipulation. That link is a different link than you have on the story. So the access to this one is only to whoever you've given this particular link to as well.
Okay, good. Okay, so I can share my data also then for further manipulation.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. So we have next question from Nitin. Christina, is there any way of drilling down in the pie chart graph or maybe possible to do this programmatically?
No, we don't. So there is, at this point, there is no drill down capability. I don't have a hierarchy in here. If you do have a hierarchy set up, like a geographic hierarchy, then I think in future we're working on having that drill down capabilities, but that's not implemented in cloud yet.
Okay, thanks, Christina. Any questions on the line, Hannah?
No, Ruchi, there are no questions in the line.
We'll just give a minute or so to see if anybody has questions for the chat or on the line.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder to place a question over the telephone, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. And please ensure the mute function on your telephone is switched off to allow your signal to reach our equipment.
Okay, so while we're waiting, thanks, Christina. I think it was a great presentation. Lots of great features, particularly using cloud for collaboration within and outside the organization to share insights and do easy modifications on the data sets to get into specifics of the analysis and saving so much time and getting straight to the results. Also, thanks for providing clarity on various licensing options. I think it would be a great learning for people who did not know various possibilities with Lumira Cloud. I don't see any more questions coming in. So with that, I would thank everyone for joining. We hope to see you again in the Lumira series. Have a good morning, evening, and afternoon, everyone. With that, I think we should conclude today's webinar.
And pardon the interruption, we just have one question that has just come in on the telephone line. Would you like to take it, Christina?
Yeah,
great. Please go ahead, caller.
Okay, this is Nitin Gupta again. I just have a quick question about the performance on SAP Lumira. If we have a mass data, what exactly is the performance?
So right now you're limited in uploading the data in itself. So we were having a data limit, I think, of 200 megabytes at the time to publish from the desktop. We're in the process of removing some of that limitation. As I was saying, we're looking into data services for Lumira Cloud. That's coming up in future. But But other than that, the data is actually rendered and everything in HANA, so you do have the performance of HANA for that in place.
Yeah, in a way, I'm just asking in a way that if I have a HANA analytical app and I just need to project that data in Lumira, so it won't be any issue because it's coming from HANA.
It shouldn't be, yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
There are no further questions from the telephone. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. On behalf of SAP KNES team, I would like to thank Christina and Ruchi. We would also like to ask you to provide your feedback using the link displayed in the chat window. This now concludes the presentation. Thank you for your attention. You may disconnect at this time.